Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Fairy Stitch vlog. I'm hoping everything is running and it looks like it is. So, thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we are discussing this little free webinar, so to speak, of pet training. And I feel like I'm going to sneeze. This is my second live video of all time, and I'm still learning it. But I thought I would do this one live because that way I could answer some of your questions if anyone should happen to stop in and check out our channel and want to ask me a relevant question about cat and dog training. I am a certified trainer. I used to work for a reputable pet store chain years ago. Then I went ahead and I had to leave them due to ill health with my family members that I had to take care of. So I started a home dog training business. And that lasted for a little while until another family member became very ill, and I had to be a caregiver for him as well. So that kind of stopped things. When he passed away, then I had to leave the house and the city. There was debts that I couldn't pay, so I had to move, and it's taken a while to get situated and figure out what I want to do and do I want to go back. And in the process of that, though, I did go to school and study and become a certified cat trainer and behaviorist. So now I have that as well. I am, among other things, if you've been a follower on the channel, then you know that I'm certified in other areas and I teach other classes and all that. But today we're going to focus on the cat and dog training. And so, again, if anybody should stop in and, you know, message me here while we're doing this, I'll be glad to answer any pertinent, relevant questions that you have about cats and dogs, and talk about our classes, our training sessions. So until anybody stops in, if anybody, I'm going to just talk about general training tips, behaviors, kind of thing. If no one stops in, well, then hopefully next time we'll have more of a dialogue going. But until then, I'm just going to get into it. So, some basic things when you're dealing with cats and dogs. First of all, remember cats and dogs are very different. And, we think of them as our children. And yes, I've had animals all my life. I've had dogs most of my life. And now I have cats. We currently have 3 cats. And we have the garden cat family that lives outside. And they are kind of adopted us. And so we're kind of like, this unofficial foster family until they get going somewhere else or we get them a home. So right now we are very focused on cats, but I've had dogs all of my life. And like I say, I started out my pet career as a dog trainer. So dogs and cats are very different. Cats have different requirements, different needs, different thought processes. Their body language is different. A dog is unique. They are fun. They can be a handful. They can be, and you think that, well, cats can't be trained. Well, that is not true. Cats can be trained. They can do obedience. They can do tricks. They can be a special needs cat. They can do cat agility. They can definitely do cat shows, and they have to be trained in order to be in a cat show. Because even though they may not be performing, as far as being very physical and doing a lot, they've got to be trained to be able to be gawked at and have all these people stick their faces into their crates and look at them. They've got to be able to be comfortable to be handled, to be around large crowds, a lot of noise, this kind of thing. It takes training. So if you're going to do that, I would recommend definitely getting your cat situated to all of those situations before you even go to a cat show. And again, it's a lot of prep work, but if you can make it where it's calming, where it becomes routine, where they're relaxed enough to deal with it, um, and you start out when they're young so that they get used to that kind of thing, most likely you're going to have a cat who will be better adjusted to the car rides and being in the crate and being put in the carrier and then put into this and moved around and being picked up. If you can put in the time and the effort to do all that prep work from the beginning, if that's what you're going to do, if you've decided I want this cat, I want to get a Persian cat, purebred, and I'm going to put her in the show. You buy a kitten. You're going to have to put in this effort and this time. It's like, baking the cake. You can't just throw on the icing and the candles when you haven't put the foundation down. If you haven't gotten all the ingredients and you haven't mixed them properly, and then baked it, you've got nothing except icing and the candles. And of course, it's going to go rotten or it's going to look bad. You get my point. So you got to do this prep work first and get the cat ready. And then you stand a better chance of having a more adjusted, well adjusted cat for cat shows. And that goes for agility training. That goes for, working with people if you want to take them to the hospitals and let them visit. They've got to be able to be used to being in a carrier and being on a harness and a leash, and they've got to be able to be used to being around strangers and noises and being handled and that kind of thing. If you find that, yes, I want my cat to do agility, and you introduce them young and they kind of learn, but then you kind of get the idea they really don't want to do this, then don't force it. Don't force it. All right. Switch to something else or just let them be a happy house cat. If your cat does not want to take part in any of these things, no matter how much training you put into it, they're not going to want to do it. Okay. And do you want to force them to do something? Do you want to force them and make them miserable? I mean, they're going to fight you. If they don't want to do it, they're going to run, they're going to hide, they might scratch you, they might bite. They're trying to tell you, I don't want this. This is not what I want to do. So if your cat really doesn't want to do it, don't force this issue. It'll just be miserable for everybody. Same thing goes for dogs. Now, dogs are, of course, we always think of, all the fun things that dogs can do outside of the basic obedience, which you need. That is your foundation. You need the basic obedience. You need the sit, down, recall, leash walking, traveling. They've got to be crate trained to be, situated. You need to do, just to watch me and have their attention. And you've got to have, all this stuff. If you don't have that foundation, they're not going to want to do dog shows. They're not going to react well to being in a dog show. You won't be able to get them to do agility. They won't do fly ball. They're not going to want to do the disc, thing. You can't even dancing with dogs. They're not going to want to do that. You've got to have the right energy. You've got to put in the time and the basic training and the basic obedience. And it's not something you just do once, they get it, and you don't do it again. You've got to keep reinforcing it. And I mean, not force, but I mean, you've got to keep doing the training. Don't expect them to remember it, forever. It's like if you don't use it, you lose it, same thing for a dog. So again, have some basic obedience down. That's where training classes come in handy. If you take an online one and you just sit and watch other people do it and then practice it at home, fine. That's all you can afford. I get it. If you can afford to take an actual physical class where you go and take your dog, I highly recommend that. Yes, I'm a trainer and I do teach classes, but again, it is important because you need that interaction with the trainer to actually get some questions answered. Plus, you can watch the demo and you can actually do it. The trainer can see you do it and see where you might be right on track or maybe a little bit off and you need a little more guidance, so, and it's a physical thing for the dog. It's exercise, it's mental exercise, which is just as important as the physical. And, plus you are training the dog because you have to put him on a leash or harness or in a carrier. You got to put him in the car. So there's some training right there. You've got to work with all of that just to get to the class. Okay. Once you get to the class, if you take a group class, they've got to be able to interact with other people and other dogs. Now, granted, if they've got an issue with that, well, the training class will help you do that, will help with all those issues. You can take private lessons. Now, private lessons are, in my opinion, better because the trainer can focus on you and your dog. You don't have to worry about other dogs and other people. And, some people get intimidated, other people don't, which is good. So I've taught both. I've done group and individual. Nowadays, I focus on individual. That's all I'll do. But I have a limited training space. So I feel it's better to let the one dog and the one client have that whole time and my attention as well. So that way we can work on it, and the dogs can play a little bit in and do different things. I'll talk about the classes later, but it's good to have that basis of uh, the obedience to get started. But there's so many things you can do with your dog and cat these days. And it's not just, letting them be couch potatoes or sitting out in their yard. It's about interacting. It's about communication. So training and working with your dog or your cat is about how you project yourself to the animal. So keep in mind, for a cat, kitties, their body language. Okay, I have this little artist model. Okay, for a cat, if the cat is got the head up, the tail is up, they're walking and they look confident. Okay, they look confident and they're walking. All right, let me get the legs all messed up here. But anyway, all right. So they're walking, okay? And this body language is confident, relaxed, friendly. Not just to you, but other cats. Okay? They are, like, okay, I'm just going along. I don't want to have a problem. Everything's good. Okay. Now, other body language that you might want to think about is if the cat is looking more tense, they're not quite moving, they seem unsure, the tail is down. That's about as far as it'll go. But the tail goes down, and if the head is down, then it's kind of more, it's either a submissive one, like behavior, like they're being faced with a more confident cat. This body language is kind of saying, okay, I'm I'm not interested. I don't want to know you. I'm just going to kind of slink off and go away, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that is that kind of body language that they're going to either give to you, especially if you're using, a stronger voice, if you're reprimanding them or if you're standing over. And keep in mind, too, when you're, especially for a cat, when you're standing over them, you look like, you're Godzilla. You look like you're the Jolly Green Giant compared to them. They feel so small and so intimidated already that if you don't make them feel comfortable and don't let them know that you're not going to hurt them, you're going to get this kind of body language. And you want strong, you want happy, you want go lucky, you want the head up, and you want the tail up and all that. Okay. Now, same kind of thing for the dog. Even more so, I think, for the dog, because if the dog is is walking along, looks happy, and he's just kind of casual, and the tail is kind of, just kind of the tail's kind of not up, but it's not down. It can be up if they're happy too, but that can be a sign of excitement as well. So again, you need to learn body language of your dog and your cat, but of your dog when you're doing dog training, especially because if you can read the body language before anything happens, you have a much better chance of preventing issues, dog fights and injuries, any kind of aggressiveness, just being afraid. It's all about body language. And so you need to learn to read your dog's body language. So again, if the ears, the ears are back and the head is down and the tail is up, okay? This could be read a couple different ways. First of all, this can be read as just being low energy, not interested, that kind of thing. But if you've got the head that's raised and the ears, the ears are back and the tail is up, that is alert, you know, turn the ears up. That's, alert. I'm focused and I'm either going to go with the excitement side of things or I'm going to get into a problem. I'm going to have a problem. I'm looking for an issue, looking for a fight. Okay. So again, some other things that you can watch out for is again, if you got we've got the stance where they are standing straight and the head is up and the tail is completely up and they're staring straight ahead at a dog. That could be an issue. Not always, but that could be an issue. If they're doing that kind of language to the dog, it's a challenge. It's like, I'm alert, I'm ready, I'm watching you. I'm watching for you. You make one little move that I don't think is good, and I'm going to go after you. So, again, it's about reading the language and reading the body language. So that is very important. The other thing is, like I say, is reading energy, not just your animals, but yourself. If you don't have the right energy, if you're not projecting a calm, in control, comfortable energy to your dog is going to try to take control of the situation because he or she figures, okay, you don't know what you're doing, you're uncomfortable, you need protection. So I need to protect myself as well. So he's going to try to take that position from you. And that's where things get into trouble. So you need to be able to stay calm, stay alert, be aware of yourself and of the dog as well and other people around you. And I don't mean to freak everybody out and think, oh my gosh, I'm gonna, this could be a fight. I need to watch everything I do. It's not that kind of energy. You want to project calm. It's just, okay, there's a dog over there. Cool. There's a man and a dog over there. They're in the yard. That's fine. And you keep on walking. If you hesitate, if you get nervous, if you start to think, oh my God, that could be a major problem, you're projecting that, and your dog is going to sense that. Even if you don't say anything, your dog is reading your body language and your energy, and they can feel your emotions or they can sense your emotions. And so it all becomes rather scientific and clinical, actually. And I admit I won't get into all of that at the moment, but it really does. It really is a physical clinical thing, and they do have those connections. So when your dog is picking up on all of this from you, they are going to be okay. There's a dog and a man over there. I need to be on guard. Oh my gosh, they could come after us. I need to make the move first. Then you've got, or I need to run. Fight or flight. So definitely, you want to have the right energy. So again, working with your dog in a training class is important. Reading some very good books. I'm going to get into that. Reading some very good books about this kind of thing, learning about energy and obedience and connecting to your dog, spiritually, physically. That's all good. So I'm just going to give you a couple of recommendations here. They're not sponsored. I'm just a fan, and I have read all three of these books a long time ago. I'm reading them again just to get everything back into my mind. But as far as connecting with your dog, this is one really terrific one that I recommend. Oops. There you go. And it's really good. It does have a lot of good um, suggestions and advice, and it's about connecting and working on your connection with your dog. So I recommend that one. Another one, I used to recommend all these in my classes. So you're getting all of this for free. But here's another one. This one is really good about learning how to connect. And then, of course, we've got Caesar. Can't talk about dog training without Caesar, right? So I have read all of his books as well. And I do have, I think, almost all of them. I think I'm missing one, but I have all the others. And I'm rereading all of these, even though, like I say, I've been through them before. And I used to recommend these to my students. So I'm recommending them to you. But definitely, when you're working with your dog or your cat, remember that if you bring your dog and your cat together, they are going to read each other differently. Okay. So the dog is, let's say, got, happy go lucky. He's got his mouth open, he's got his tail up, and he's kind of like, hey, hey, hi, play with me. I'm good. It's so good to see you. And the cat is like, what are you doing? He's backing away. He's trying to get away. He's really nervous, and he might crouch down, and the dog is going, come on, play with me, play with me. The, the dog is projecting an energy the cat is not happy with, doesn't quite understand. And so the cat is going to react as, like, oh my God. And he's going to try to run. He might try to hide. Meanwhile, the dog reads all of this and goes, oh, playtime. It's chase. And the chasing can turn into a problem. Maybe not always. Other times, you never know. Now, to give you an idea, years ago, because dogs and cats can get along famously, they can be fantastic together. They can nuzzle each other. They can sleep together. They can be best friends. Doesn't mean that your dog and cat will be, I'm sorry to say, but it definitely can happen. And it's always good to start them out young. If you're going to get a dog, get a puppy and get a kitten. Start training both of them. And you got to work within their parameters. Like I say, what a cat wants and needs is different usually from what a dog needs and requires. So you need to be able to work with both of them, get them used to each other, let them hang out together, let them play a little bit. They've got to get that interaction, okay? And you just monitor it. You just watch over it, keep an eye, hang out with them, watch them play, introduce toys when they get, if they get too rough or whatever. Break it up if it really gets rough, and then let them come back to each other. It's about little steps. It's about kittens, puppy steps at a time, And if it doesn't work out to a certain point, and you back up a little, then you back up and you start again and keep on taking steps and move forward. with the training. So again, start them out young, train them, work with them, let them play with each other and learn, about each other, and then make it a positive thing. If any time you feel nervous or you feel scared, or if you're looking at them and you break them up because you think there's going to be a major problem, you remember you're projecting that to both those animals. So they're going to go, uh-oh, mommy or daddy's scared. Maybe I should be afraid of you then, or maybe I should take stance and attack you because they're nervous and they think the dog and cat put it together. They think, and it's like, oh boy, I need to protect myself. I need to protect my parent. So again, work with your energy, keep it positive, keep it calm. Praise them when they're doing good things. That's called capturing the behavior. If you catch your dog, let's say you haven't done training yet, and you've caught your dog or your puppy and he sits and he's just sitting there being perfect. He's not moving, he's not barking, he's not causing you trouble. Capture the behavior is what we call it. Capture the behavior. You're going to go, good Fido, good boy. You know, even if you don't give him treats, even if you don't have a toy on hand, do the physical, good boy, and pet him real quick. You're capturing the behavior. If the cat is laying down and relaxing and the puppy is not, is right there, and the cat's not afraid, the cat's not running, he's not swiping at the pup, they're ignoring each other. Again, capture the behavior, good Missy, good kitty, good girl. And they're going to look at you and going to go, huh? But you go, good girl, and then let it go. Okay, so capture behaviors. When you work with a cat or a dog and you're actually working on the behavior, we call that shaping. You're shaping the behavior into something that you want. And it may take different steps to get to that final step you wanted, but as long as you do it, stay consistent, you keep shaping that behavior into what you want. Another tip too for dog training especially is when you're working with your dog, keep in mind that your dogs are not good generalizers. Okay? They specialize. And by that I mean, let's say you are teaching the sit. Okay? You want them to sit at your front door before you open the door, whether it be to let them out, or whether it be to take them for a walk, or whether it's to let somebody come into the house. You want your dog to have proper manners so that they don't go running out into the street. They don't go crashing into your yard and into a fence. They don't, jump all over somebody who's coming in the door. You want those good manners and you want the dog to be safe. But you need to train them to the door. So you would train the sit, let's say if you feel that the front door is too much for them at first, that that's going to be overstimulating, that's going to be harder for both of you to deal with, then start at a back door or your side door, depending how many doors you have in your house. But if you go to your back door, let's say, okay, even a sliding glass door, it's still a door. You need to train that sit with your puppy or your dog at each door. Because if you just train the back door and you think, okay, he's going to understand that all the doors now are it, they won't get it most likely. Now, you might get lucky. Not all dogs are the same. Not all dogs' memories are the same. Not some are smarter than others, depending on the breed or the training, whatever, and the age. So a puppy is just gonna be like, I want to do this, I want to do that. You need to teach focus for a puppy. An older dog, senior dog, even, they won't have as much energy, but still, you train them to the back door because it's less stimulating. It'll be easier and less frustrating for you, and it'll help the dog to understand, okay, so you want me to sit before you open this glass door or you open this back door. Okay. You train that until the dog gets it. Okay. Now let's say you have a side door to your house. Maybe it goes out to a rec room or your patio, or it goes out to your garage. Maybe you have an attached garage and it goes out to, you need to train them to that door. So you go to that door and start training them to the side door. When they get it, they got it, they're doing good. Then you can go to the really high energy door, the one that is going to be a problem. But don't go to it thinking, okay, this is going to be a real issue. Okay. Again, if you're projecting that, the dog is going to pick it up and the dog is going to be, much more excited before you even get down to the room, into the living room or wherever, and to the door. They're already going to be anticipating. They're already going to start, trembling, shaking. It's going to be mental first before it becomes physical. So if they're starting to look at the door and they're heading down the hall, like, and they're really starting to get physically, you need to nip that in the bud before they even get there. And once you get him calm, get him to relax, lay down, then you can take him to the front door. And you're going to sit your pup or your dog at the door. You do that training to the front door. Okay. So you get what I'm saying. You have to train the behavior in every place. All right. That goes for the same thing as if you're in the house, or if you're out in a yard, or if you're going to a park, or if you're going to a pet store, or if you're going to a friend's house, or you're taking to a doggy daycare. Again, you got to train the dog in every spot that you go to that you're going to need that behavior. Because just because you trained him in the house does not mean the dog is going to understand when you go out in the yard with him, that when you want him to bring him back into the house, you want him to sit at that door before you let him in, and you go in the door first, by the way. The owner needs to go in to the house first, then the dog follows you, not the other way around. But my point is that you need to, train the doors and then take the dog outside, let him play and all the other. And then you need to train the dog to do the same thing, but in reverse. So you're out in the yard, you're in front of your back door or whatever, or front of the front door. They have to be trained to that behavior to do the sit outside. And then you go into the house. And again, you do it the same way. Okay. So I think hopefully that's clear. You get my point. It's just they have to be trained specifically in each place that you're going to want the behavior. For cats, kind of the same thing. But cats don't always want to work as well as dogs. It's not that they're incapable of training, because that's not true. They are. But we can give the treat to a dog or to a cat, give the treat or a toy to a dog when they're doing the right behavior. Okay. And generally we will until they learn not to do it or learn to do the behavior you want. For a cat, cats don't always want to work for the same things. Now, some cats are very motivated for food. So if you do have a special treat that you want to save just to give them when you're doing your training, great. That's best. That's the best way to do it. But, your cat may not want a treat. He may not be hungry enough. And you're trying to work with him or her, and she or he don't want to be bothered. No matter how many treats you bring out, they're just going to sniff it and go, I'll get back to you. But then again, you might have a cat who's more motivated for a toy, but it would have to be a special toy. So again, just like with dogs, if you find you need help, that you need to work on a behavior and the dog or cat is not reacting well, or they just don't want to work for something, but yet you find something that they really like, whether it be a treat, whether it be a store-bought treat or something you cook and make at home, or whether it be a special toy. It could be a squeaky toy, it could be a rope toy for the dogs, it could be one of those stringy toys with a fuzzy mouse on the end for the cat. For feathers, cats love feathers. So if you pick something like that, then save that toy or that treat for your training sessions with your animal. And in that way, when they do the behavior that you want, you're going to reward them with that special treat. It's just like with us. If we're going to have a birthday dinner or a birthday cake, maybe, your child looks forward to it every year because you only make that particular cake for their birthday. It gives them something to look forward to. Same kind of thing for your dog and cat, except you're doing training, whether it be every day or every couple days. You're doing the training and you'll pull out that special toy, that special treat, and then they know, oh, okay, we're doing work here. If I do my work, if I do my homework, I get the toy or I get the treat I really want. It's motivating. But we see that more with dogs than we do with cats, but cats can do it. Like I say, it might be a specific toy, but if you have a cat who's very food motivated, then yeah, you can use the treats. So learn what your animals and your pets react to the best and like. Find something that they don't like, they're not going to work for it. They're not going to care. So you need to switch it up. And it's good to be unpredictable too. Dogs and cats do like routine, they need routine, and we're creatures of habit. We're creatures of routine. So they watch us all day long, and she's like, they'll pick it up. They're like, if you're getting ready to go out for a run, let's say, we wear similar outfits, or maybe we have particular shoes you're going to wear. You might have like a fanny pack or a little backpack or something, and the dog and the cat, they watch. They're like, okay, she's got the shoes on. Or I'd be like, okay, he put on that jacket, he's got those pants. And they notice the smell of the clothes, even if they're clean. They will notice the smell, they will notice the shoes, and we're creatures of habit. So we're going to put on the same stuff, put in the same pack. You're putting your stuff in your bag and you're going, and like, oh, okay, they're going, they're going to be gone a while, so we're the creatures of habit. So it's good to give them a routine, but you can mix it up a little bit. That way they never quite know when or what's going to happen, and it makes it more interesting for them because they're like, oh, we're going for a walk now, okay, and that way you could throw them off their game a little bit. But it's a mental thing, it's a mental exercise. Okay, some other things I want to talk about. Oh, one good thing too is something that I always do for my animals. I've always done it, is keep a journal. Now, like I say, we have 3 cats, so each cat has their own journal. Each one's a little different. So this one is a lined journal. You can buy specific pet journals. There used to be a really good one, and I can't remember the publisher. I can't remember the name of the book, but apparently they stopped making them years ago, which is sad because those journals were fantastic. I mean, they had everything in them, and they were a good size, and they, anyway, I can't remember the publisher, but it had all sorts of stuff. So nowadays you can purchase one, but some of them aren't as good as that one was. So generally, I just end up using journals or sketchbooks. So like this one is for fairy, I think. This one's fairies. This one's charcoals. So charcoals is a little sketchbook. And because I am an artist and I like to do artwork and I like to take their pictures and things, I do use sketchbooks a lot, and you can decorate them if you want to. But the whole idea is you set it up, and so I've got like a tab section of like pages to set aside for their shots, or doctor's visits. And then I've got other ones where it's journal, where I can write in what they did. It's kind of like a little memory book, but at the same time, if I need to go to the vet with her, I can tell them, okay, on this date, Charcoal was throwing up. She didn't feel well. She wasn't eating. I don't know what caused it. And you check your notes, So, yes, and it's just a blank sketchbook. Okay. And for Little Butter, she's got I think a little sketch, or I used a notebook. And used a notebook for her. That's all I had. So, but yeah, you can buy fancy journals. You can buy ones and just make them yourself. But journals are really good because, like I say, you can log in their behaviors. You can log in any illnesses, anything that looks weird, suspicious. For dogs, and the cats, you can put in a whole training section, so that way you could list, okay, today we worked on the sit and the heel, the walk, and this went well. This was a problem. We ran into another dog, and this is what happened, because it helps you to figure it out later. Or if you come to a trainer, then you've got the notes, and you can say, okay, well, we tried this and we tried that, and it didn't work. What did I do wrong? Or what should we do next time? That kind of thing. It helps you keep it in your mind, and then that way, you have a better chance of understanding and getting help if you need it for the next time. But also too, it's good to keep an eye on their weight, their doctor's visits, who you saw, when you saw them, what shots they got, if there's any surgeries, there's any injuries, you need all of that. So journal, whether you, like I say, store bought or made, is definitely key. I do highly recommend that for any of your animals. You could have a snake, you could have a hamster. It's good to have a journal for anything, and it's a great thing for your kids to learn, because if they keep a little journal too, about their pet, then it helps them to continue to do journaling for the rest of their life. And it helps them to have this written record of their pets too, because an animal they might have when they're 5 years old probably is not going to be around when they're, 15, 20. And so if they have this little journal, then they've got pictures, and they can read all the memories all about that animal. So it becomes a little memorial kind of thing too, for your animal. So again, I recommend journals and diaries. Okay, so when we still don't have anybody joining us, I realize this is getting a long video. So those are some of the basics. Now let me just talk about my training classes. And for the cat training class, I call it the Kitty 411. And this is a lecture class, and it's about an hour to 2 hours long, depending on how many questions I get. And it's an in-person class. I do believe I have an online version available on my Ko-fi.com page. You can purchase that. It's online. So it's a little more abridged, and it's shorter than the physical in-person class would be. So the in-person class is, like I say, an hour and a half to 2 hours long, and for a nominal fee. And it's just for the pet parents. So your kitties do not come with you. Yeah, this lecture class, where you can take your notes, is going to talk about different behaviors. Why does your cat do that? Body language a bit, how to work with different training tips, for litter box training, working with children, getting a cat when you're having a baby. Positive associations, working with your dog and your cat, and then there's fun facts and informational facts and things like that. So it covers a lot of information that I'm going to be speaking about. And I do offer those throughout the month, usually the same day of the month. So again, if you're interested, please message me, or you can go to our Facebook page, MK's Pup Paws Pet Training on Facebook.com. Okay. I'll try to, I can't do it right now, but I might be able to come into the video later and edit, and I'll add the link. But yeah, you can just go to my Facebook page for the training, and you can message me there. I do ask that you guys, if anyone's interested in taking the class, once you find out when I'm having the next one, you need to book your seat ahead of time because it's usually limited seating. Only because I don't have enough chairs. If I were to have a bunch of people, which would be fabulous, they'd have to bring their own chairs. But to reserve your spot and to get in right away, I do ask you do that, and you pay for the class when you come to the class. You don't have to pay ahead of time, but you do need to reserve your spot, and that goes for all my classes. So that is the cat class. Now the dog training class, I offer two different options. One day, it's only one day a week that I do training for the dogs. So it's usually Thursdays right now. We're going into summer, so I'm thinking summer hours and schedule. So right now it's Thursdays. So it's one day a week. And for a fee, it's a one-time class that you can come back to whenever and however whenever you need to. Okay. So that way you don't have to feel, oh, I'm stuck paying for a 6 week class and maybe I won't be able to do all 6 weeks. I get that. So we keep it simple and you just pay as you go and you take as many lessons as you need, as many as you want. So the option is this. You take the dog training class, which is actually working with me, and we work on whatever you need, whether it be a specific behavior, whether it be you want to work on some agility and tricks and learn some games and some mental exercises. If you just want to work on leash walking and the sit and some uh, basic training, that's fine. You want a combo, want a little of everything, that's fine too. Okay. So that is the private one-time training class. The other option I give is pretty much the same thing, but it's doggy playtime or puppy playtime. So again, it's a single one dog, one client at a time. I don't do group classes. So if you say, well, I've got a senior dog, let's say. I have a senior dog. He can't do a lot, but training is fine, but I really wanted to get him out. I really want him to get some exercise and some mental exercise and just some, quick things. Okay, so I offer the doggy play time. So again, it's for the same fee as the training class. You would bring him on a schedule, you bring him or her, and we let you just hang out in the ring, our training ring with your dog, and they can play. We'll just put out some toys, we'll put out some equipment and things, something that they can handle, because if they've got hip dysplasia or they've got injuries or something like that, obviously we don't want to stress the dog's physical being. We're trying to mentally stimulate them. So again, we would set it up. Each class is situated for the client's needs or wishes. So then you can do playtime and just let them play. And they can just hang out and they can play with the toys. They can rest when they want to. The sessions are an hour long. So you get an hour, whether it be training class or playtime. Let's say you want to do a little of both. Maybe you do want a little bit of playtime and then you do want some training. That's fine too. Price stays the same, and there's always somebody here, either myself or my assistant, and we'll be here to answer questions. We keep an eye on everything. We want to keep everybody safe, everybody protected, and we just want to give the dogs a chance to hang out and play with something and get stimulated, new smells, new sounds, a different environment. They get to play with toys, they're going to be changed every set. And, if somebody wanted to do that, whether it be a training class or do a playtime, and they want to come every week, that's fine too. And you just, pay as you go and do what you want. Just always schedule it. So again, that is my training options. So again, if you want some more information, please go to my Facebook page. And again, it's MK's Pup Paws Pet Training on Facebook. And you can message me there for more information or to schedule a class. And we are located out here in the high desert of California. So I do keep and do account of weather and what's going on. And we do try to make a safe environment. There's always plenty of water. Things are always cleaned and sanitized before and after every session. So you don't worry about that. There is some paperwork to sign for the very first class or session that I do ask for. And of course, all your dogs need to be vaccinated, current vaccinations, and we need to know about any health issues, any physical restrictions, anything like that. So, yeah, everything's about safety and being careful and trying to create a good environment for you and your dog or your puppy. So, yeah, so I'm almost in an hour, and sadly, we didn't get anyone to chat. So I'm sorry about that. Hopefully, next time when I do one of these, we will have people jump on and ask some questions. But again, until then, you can message me for information. Please check out the link. And we thank you so very much for tuning in, listening to me. I hope I gave you some advice and tips to get you started. And again, check out those books, get a journal or a diary if you haven't already. And always, go to the vet, keep your animals up on their vaccinations, stay aware of what's going on with your dog or your cat. And, just do a quick checkup and nothing else. They're doing good, they seem happy, but you just want to, the vet would be appreciative of keeping an eye on them. So take them in, just say, I just want a wellness check, just make sure they're okay. So it's important. So anyway, thank you so very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and we hope to see you in the next one.